Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Exploring Consciousness podcast.
And welcome to another episode with your co-host, Donna Rebadow, and me, Natasha Williams.
This podcast is a field guide for people who would like some help and guidance on their spiritual path. I introduce, review, and share consciousness in its many dimensions. This is for the curious adventurer who isn't afraid of asking for help. So dream, dare, and let's begin today's episode.
Now, today I think we're in for a special treat because who we are going to interview is none other than the amazing Donna Rebadow. Donna, welcome to your podcast.
Thank you, Natasha. Welcome to yours.
Wonderful. Now, I wanted to do this podcast specifically, Donna, with you being highlighted because there are so many wonderful elements of who you are, your experiences that a lot of people don't know. So I really wanted to take the time to highlight that and let them know how fantastic you truly are and what you bring and what you give to us.
Thank you, Natasha.
Absolutely, Donna. So I want to start off by saying that Donna is a mystic. She's a near-death experiencer, a sports medicine acupuncturist, and of course, our dear host. But did you also know that Donna is an author of a wonderful book, which I've read? Thank you, Donna. And the book is Wednesdays with Sadie, the Miracle Dog. Wonderful book.
Thank you.
Right. In the summer of 1998, Donna had a near-death experience. And as you can imagine, the experience was pivotal because it changed how she viewed herself, the world, and other dimensions. Now, after this experience, Donna started exploring consciousness. And to do so, she went to a variety of workshops that were given at the Monroe Institute, given through Dr. Bill Bankston, our really good friend, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and of course, none other than the fantastic Tom Campbell. Donna also went on to take classes in remote viewing, associative remote viewing, and what I find to be fascinating, tarot card training with the outstanding Richard Knight. I'm very excited to talk about that, Donna, but let's move on because you also did training in evidential mediumship with Susan Giesman, which is also going to be a wonderful thing to talk about. Now, did you know that Donna taught? She did. She taught at the community college level in Arizona for 30 years, and her areas of focus included health, wellness, psychology, and alternative medicine. Later on, in about 2010, Donna opened up her sports medicine acupuncture practice. In that practice, she treated fantastic athletes, specifically athletes in the Major League Baseball, and, which I love, elite Olympic athletes. I thought that was fantastic. Donna really is a humanitarian. She's a musician. And did you know that she's a former athlete? And we'll talk about that, Donna. She is absolutely a consciousness adventurer. And I didn't know this about you, Donna, but you were inducted into your Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame with your teammates at the Wayland Baptist University. Well, congratulations, Donna. That's quite a feat. Quite a feat.
Thank you. Yeah, it was the largest incoming class at Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And you just had to play for the team from 1948 to 1982. It's more than that. They did it because we knocked down the ceiling for players that are now in the WNBA.
Oh, wow. It's incredible. I didn't know that. Ah, look at you.
We did that.
Wow. Now, the brief intro is essentially just a brief intro. There's so much info that Donna brings, so much knowledge that Donna brings. And I'd love to circle back to that. But first, Donna, I'd like to create a foundation, a foundation. And I feel like in order for us to do so, we need to journey back.
Okay.
And what that means is I like to know when your very first experience with, what do you call it here, Donna? The unknown was.
Okay.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I was 4 years old,
Mhm,
and my brothers and sisters, there were seven of us.
mhm,
And at the time, my little brother and sister hadn't been born, so the four older ones went off to school, and I was left. And so I had gone outside to play on the swing set. And my dad was amazing because he put cement on the swing set so we could go as high as we wanted to. He didn't have to worry about us keeling over backwards. So I'm swinging and I'm a little kid, and I got to go higher than most little kids. And there were some young trees. We were in a young neighborhood. And when I would swing, I would just reach the top of the trees. And in my 4-year-old mind, it was something like this. Um, I wonder what's out there, what's beyond the trees. And I heard you will spend your life exploring the world or what's out beyond the trees. I thought that
Wow.
was normal. I thought, and I knew that wasn't my voice. It wasn't my thoughts because I had just said, I wonder what's out there.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That was my first experience.
So that was your first experience. So with that first experience, Donna, I'm curious, um, who did you talk to about this?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I didn't
No,
talk to anybody. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I think I
really?
was like, I don't know how old I was when I first
Yeah.
said it because I just thought it was normal. I just
You
thought,
just thought it was, you just
like,
thought it was normal.
yeah, that
Okay.
kids can ask a question and get an answer.
Ah, so then I'm curious then, when did you realize that that voice was something special and maybe not everybody heard that?
Well, I think I was around 7 or 8 years old. So now I'm like in second or third grade, probably third grade. And my older sister, 4 years older than I am, said something to me about a friend of hers, and she didn't quite understand what her friend was saying. And I turned to her and I said, well, why don't you go inside her head? And she said, I'm not quite sure what that means. What do you have to, what does that mean? What do you mean go inside her head? I said, well, and this is what I used to do in school and with my friends. If I didn't understand something, I would be quiet and I would project my consciousness into their mind, and I could hear the important things behind what they were trying to say to me. And then I'd come back into me and I would answer them. And for the most
Mm,
part, I was actually answering the topic that they were on.
mm,
And I said, so you just, you do that, you go into someone's head. And my sister said, people don't do that.
wow.
That's not normal. I went, oh, so I've
Right.
been doing it for like all this time. So I just thought, oh, well, when you're from a big family and you're the middle child, you want to be as normal as you can and as quiet as you can. So
Mhm,
so I went,
mhm.
okay, well, I'll just stop doing that.
Ah,
So that's when
so
I knew it wasn't, you know,
oh, so when you say that you stopped doing that, you essentially suppressed that.
I stopped doing that, and mostly if I needed to, I would do it,
Okay.
but I wouldn't tell anybody.
Ah, I
It
see.
was it wasn't until in my 20s, and I was with a friend of mine, and I actually didn't go into her head, but I heard her,
Mhm.
and she was saying, I wonder how long we've been friends. And I thought she said it out loud. And I turned to her and I said, I don't know, I think about 8 or 9 years. And she looked at me like, and she said, what? And I said, I think we've been friends about 8 or 9 years. And she goes, I didn't ask that out loud. I asked that in my own head.
Wow. Oh,
So I went,
wow.
oh man, now that's another dimension.
Yeah,
It's like now it was bleeding across the barrier. So
absolutely. Well, see that is fantastic. I don't think I've ever experienced that. But what I'm curious about, Donna, is how did you use that ability to get into somebody else's consciousness to explore, to develop who you are, look into your skills and talents. Um, did you use it in such a way when you were young? Like,
no, the only way I used it when I was
oh,
young is mostly in school. And it was if it was a concept or the teacher was teaching something
oh,
and I didn't quite get it, I would quickly jump inside her head was how I said it and go, oh, that's what. And then I would look down at my sheet and I would practice what I thought she heard. And then I would raise my hand and say, is what you meant blah, blah, blah? She goes, yes.
oh,
It's,
that's incredible, Donna. That is incredible.
so mostly that. But I, again, I just thought it was just something people could
Ah,
do, not maybe not normal, but there had to be someone else out there that was doing that.
right. And did you find said person? Did you find a person?
No, I did not find such a person until I went to those workshops. Then I found my tribe.
Oh, so then really, when we mentioned that the near-death experience was truly pivotal, it essentially really was.
It absolutely was because it was those kinds of things were just self-contained, and I didn't even know there was something called near-death experience. I didn't know there was an organization.
Right.
I didn't know all of that, and
Okay.
so I didn't really. I had that, but I didn't explore it until then.
Until then, okay. And so you have the experience, and you come back. Is your knowing stronger, or is it just you're more curious? What I'm curious about is you have your near death experience and you're back in this realm, in this dimension.
Okay.
Did the experience of having being over there, did you come back with a stronger knowing, or did you need to figure things out more? You see what I'm saying? Did you come back knowing more and therefore you did workshops to explore that, or you thought, huh, I'm at ground zero here and I really need to do some work?
During the near-death experience, when I was able to, I came back into, snapped back into my body.
Yes.
My
Mhm.
first thought was, what the heck was that?
Mm.
So I didn't have a knowing of that. It would
Ah,
be, faith-based or, I didn't have a knowing
ah,
of what I saw and experienced to the depth and the breadth.
yeah.
And so when I came back, it was a paradigm changer. It changes how you think, how you view the world. Like I said, seeing other dimensions.
Mm.
So so there's that aspect.
Yeah.
And in terms of knowing, like
Mhm.
you got to keep in mind, I said I was 4 and then I was 8 and then some other things happened. So
Right.
it's been an evolution
That's
all
right.
along. So when
Mhm.
I came back, things were a little different
Mhm.
uh, in the sense of, I think that more of the empathy. I'm more
Ah,
empathetic, and I think the empathy stretches further, like keying in on certain people that might be anxious, or I know them and
yeah.
they're not here in my house, they're somewhere else. I can
Okay.
sense that with
Okay.
it more of a depth or a breadth. And then when I do healing, that all changed because when I do healing, um, I have a picture that my graphic artist friend Jürgen Ziwa drew. Been an out of body experiencer for like 40, 50 years, and he's a graphic
Mhm.
artist. And he drew this crystal palace. And I was like, okay, that's when I go healing, that's where I take people to that crystal palace. And then I bring with me all those people, angels, guides, beings that from the other side will come help me in that healing.
So what I'm curious about is you've come back, you've explored, and now you have a different knowing. So you are a practitioner. It's like, how do you incorporate what you've learned, your healing aspect, into being a practitioner of acupuncture? Are you taking people to that crystal palace while you're putting needles in? Or are you using the needles to intend health? How are you using these things, Donna, that that are given to you? Tell me.
Okay. It depends on the person and what I'm doing.
Okay.
If it's a physical thing, it's just like one of my pictures.
Yeah.
I know he's doing okay. He's happy. Everything's going along. And he just needs that shoulder fix. I'm going to do my traditional acupuncture.
Uh-huh.
Just I'm putting the needles in, and I have my intent for healing. And so it ranges from I would call traditional
Mhm.
acupuncture, but remember, I'm a sports medicine
Right.
acupuncturist, so I'm even not traditional in that aspect. I'm doing a little bit different things. And then one of the things I did at the Monroe is was to become a Reiki master. So now I will do uh, I will do needles and Reiki, and I also am Tai Chi and Qigong. So I'll add some. I have my practitioner, my Qigong master, Robert Peng, taught us a technique of gathering energy from go to the farthest reaches of the uh, multiverse universe. Go as far as you think you can.
Mm.
So I go flying out there. Bring back all the energy from that spot. Just come streak across the sky and gather all that energy, and then come through the sun. And the sun purifies that energy, and then bring it down through your eighth chakra, down your arms into your hands. So I'll do that if
Mm.
I need some extra energy. And
I'm always curious, practitioner to practitioner, how we practice our differences, our similarities. And one thing that I'm really curious about is remote viewing.
okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about remote view. Like, what is remote viewing, and how does one use it? Why would you use it, Donna? Yeah.
Well, remote viewing is a person's ability to go into some people would say the void or the subconscious, close your eyes, and you're given a set of coordinates. And it usually is like six random numbers. And they'll say, what's at that location? So it could be a person, place, thing, anywhere on the planet or off planet. But usually for beginners, we start on planet. And so you quietly, there's a bunch of things to get revved up. So for me, I mostly will listen to binaural beats. I'll be listening to some set of music just to kind of get myself out of this planet. It's kind of like what I used to do when I said I got quiet and go into someone else's consciousness. It's kind of like that. Then I take a sheet of paper, and if you're taught controlled remote viewing, and it depends on who your teacher is. So one of my teachers is Lori Williams, and hers is a very technical how to do your picture. It's very technical in terms of there are six stages, and you learn stage one, and it's things like ideograms, and it's very technical language and very technical things on how you arrive at your picture. And you
Mm.
can only use adjectives and not nouns, because if what comes to you is something red and round, the noun would be, it could be an apple or a red ball. You don't do that in remote viewing. You can say the shape is round, color is red, and then again, there's different. You go then to stage two, and you can be at the scene. It's called aesthetic impact. You're at the scene. You can move around the scene, and you keep drawing and keep writing. And at the end, you'll say, this is my answer of what's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's associative remote viewing, which is has a binary, has a yes or no answer. So, so let me go back to control remote viewing. You can use that to find missing persons. You can use that to, I don't want to go too much further into that. Let me tell you, associate remote viewing, which I learned from Lori Williams' partner, Lynn Buchanan, who was one of the original Stargate US government spies using remote viewing. And so he taught us associative remote viewing. So you have a yes or no question. And it could relate to the lottery. It could relate to buying a house, a car, the stock market. Is a person here or there? So it has to have a yes or no answer. And usually you have a monitor. So Mary Lou's my monitor, and you get pictures of things, and they have to be totally different. So you get a picture of a chair, and you assign that to yes, the stock market's going up. And then you get another picture totally unrelated to what a chair would be. So it'd be a forest or lake or something, a picture of a lake or a forest. And you would assign that to no, the stock market's not going up. But you don't know that. The person doing the remote viewing does not know that. The monitor knows that. And if it's what they used to do is they used to have a third person, and all they would do is give the envelope to the monitor, and then you had a remote view off something out of that envelope. But what you're doing is you're going through the process of closing your eyes, getting yourself ready, and then what do you see? And you start drawing that, and you use your adjectives, and you end up giving it back to the monitor. And you can only be shown the correct answer. So if in fact you would have to say, like, I did NFL football games 2 years ago and got 5 out of 6 of the playoff games. So her nephew could bet sports. I said, well, let me show you about associative remote viewing. And so she would assign a picture to the New York Jets and assign a picture to the San Francisco 49ers. And she would say, the game is on Sunday it'll be over at 6:00. She would say, I will show you the winning picture at 7:00 after the game, and I'll be in the living room and I'll show it to you on the computer. Mm-hmm. But I had a remote view on Friday before, and she would give me 20 minutes. And she would say, go to your room. I'd go to my room, I'd have my paper, and she'd say, are you ready? And I'd yell, yeah, okay, 20 minutes, go. And then I just had to sit there. I didn't have the 6 coordinates. I would just sit there and draw whatever is coming into my consciousness. It's usually like a flashlight. Like if the picture of the sky behind me with me, your first view might be just that up top circle, and I would write, I'm outside. It's dark. Whatever adjectives, like I would maybe draw little points of stars, but I wouldn't say stars. It's a noun. I would say it's light, it's white, and I draw a semicircle, I draw whatever it is that's coming to me. So the next flashlight that comes might be the microphone. Mm-hmm. And I'd say round, black, whatever. And I'd have to do this for 20 minutes. And most of the time I'd be done before 20 minutes, and I kept going. Is there anything else? Because it's only been like 10 minutes, and they're going to think I'm going, give me something else. No, we're done. Okay. So I'd come out and I'd give her the picture. Now I wouldn't know the answer until Sunday at 7:00 when she showed me the winning, or the picture, the one that was correct. Because you can never see the other picture, because if you do, then at 7:30, I might have, when you're looking into the future like that, you don't want to tie into the wrong picture. So if she showed me both, how do we know that I didn't tie into the other picture? So I can never see that picture. And so I got 5 out of 6 correct. So her and her nephew would look at my picture and look at the 2 pictures that Mary Lou picked and say, No, she really drew a picture of the chair really well. So the chair was associated with the Jets. So I'm going with the Jets.
Ah, got it.
So that's associative remote viewing. So there's other kinds of remote viewing.
Mhm.
And I've learned through other teachers, Joe McMonagle from the Monroe, Pam Coronado, the best psychic detective on the planet.
Mm.
I've taken 6 classes, and I'm in a class with her on finding missing people, and then we add things to it, like dowsing. And we'll say, you get out a picture of the map and you douse the map, and you go, where in the world is the person I'm looking for? United States. Okay, then you divide it by fours. Is it this fourth, this fourth, this fourth, this fourth? Oh, so it's this fourth. This is Southwest. Okay, is it California? So it's a whole process that you go through, and then you can start to do your remote viewing of, like, there was a missing person in Arizona. And a lot of times, so taking the classes from her, she goes, be careful about when you name your own state because,
Hmm.
so I went, oh, Arizona, shoot, that's my state.
Yeah.
What are you getting? I go, well, maybe it's an A state, maybe it's Alabama. So I, so I drew Alabama, and I drew a swamp, and this person got bit by a snake, and I could see that, and I'm drawing that. So when I got done, I went, oh, it's not Alabama, it's Arizona, because I keep
Mhm.
getting this dryness. So I went back and redrew it with Arizona out in the desert, and I drew where I thought they were. And so it's a different process when you do that. So um, then we Zoom together, and she goes, okay, there's about 10 of us in the class, and she asks for our feedback and our pictures. And if you're close to what she has, she'll ask you more. Like she'll go, well, Donna, tell me about that slope. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, well, it's a slope at a bar. I feel like a cave or something. Like he went into a ditch or a cave, and I think he got bit by a rattlesnake. She goes, I got a rattlesnake too. So, it's a whole
Interesting.
it's a whole different kind of ball game. So I prefer looking for missing persons over predicting football games.
Yeah, 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 rightfully so. Donna, I have um a question about that, finding missing persons. So in my mind, I think if somebody comes to me and says, so and so has been missing from this area, can you figure out, if you will, what happened to this individual? Now, in my mind, I think that that person has left a fingerprint. Has This is what I'm imagining, has left a fingerprint, and a pretty detailed fingerprint around the events that they disappeared from. And so my question is, why are we going through these multiple levels to figure out, why can't you just say this person disappeared, we think, from this area? Why can't I hone in on that energy stamp and read it and say, so and so was here April 5th, and this is what happened to them. This is why they're no longer with us, or this is where they went. Like, why can't I just do that, Donna? Why are there so many levels?
So many levels because you can't do. It's very hard to do numbers. That's why you do associative remote viewing.
Okay.
In the lottery, you assign a picture to the number one, a picture to the number two, as the left brain starts to get involved. And that's why you have to take the classes, and that's why it's involved, because you're trying to quiet the left brain. So, and the left brain is the survivor, and it wants to talk to you all the time, not your subconscious. So we call it noise. So there's
Mhm.
something called signal and noise. The signal is the that energy signature we're trying to get to, but because we're human, we get a lot of noise with it because of the brain trying to go, no, no, they're in Alabama. No, no, they're in Kansas City. No, you have to learn how to kind of quiet that noise and get to the signal line. And the least you can tell remote viewers, the better, because I don't want to know if it's male or female. I don't want to know a lot of things because then I'll start going off on, like, if you start telling me uh, the color of the car or something like that, the more my left brain will turn that into something that's really not. And there's been times I've really let my left brain really get into it, and I do a whole thing. It's called storytelling, and I created a great story.
Mm.
And my teachers would go remote viewing. They go, "Oh, that's a great story." And as soon as they say that, not one thing is correct. Nope. One
Ah,
thing is correct because you keep a castle building. You keep building this castle, and so it's a practice, and it's not there's certain gifted people like Joe McMoneagle. He's remote viewer number one.
mm,
He could draw anyway. He's an artist,
mm,
but he can draw the exact um diagrams where I might draw parts of it, but my adjectives will be better than my drawing. So you have to have somebody be able to score your results, and you get feedback and you go, "Oh, I'm really good at cars, but not people," or "I'm really good at locations and not something else." So it's not as easy as if you put a psychic up against a remote viewer. And again, it depends on, how great the psychic is and the remote viewer.
mm,
Um, a lot of times the remote viewer will be closer than the psychic. But again, it depends. We're human, so we get a lot of noise. So better remote viewers hardly get any noise and they get all signal. And
mm,
we've had a few of them on the planet that were just amazing. And we do it by what was your score? How many of the elements did you get?
mm.
So you figure there's 50-50 chance. Are they inside or are they outside? Is it light or dark? Is it, I mean, you can get a 50-50 chance, or you can get a zero like I do if I really castle build. But what was interesting, we had a missing person, and she gave us uh, it's called, you get the job on Wednesday, and then you got till the next Wednesday to remote view. Um, so I was remote viewing, and I'm not getting anything. I'm getting nothing, and I'm getting, I don't know where this person is. I don't know. So I take my dogs walking out at Chatfield State Park in Denver, and I'm out walking with them, and they're, it's an off leash, so they're having fun, and I'm looking around, and I look to my right down into a gully, and that whole scene flashed in about 2 seconds. And that's a good remote view. It doesn't stay there like 10 minutes and you can draw it like Bob, the artist. You get them in these little snippets. So I turned to the left and I went, "What? I think I think that's the guy. I think I have him." I turned back around and flashed again and went home and drew it.
Mhm.
And on Wednesday, I got like 95% accuracy. The 5% was the water that he was in. I think I said it's either going to be, I said it was a river and it was a lake, or I said it was a lake and it was a river. And I had the whole scene. And we had it for that one, we had to go 3 miles out. You had to take where he is and then go 3 miles out and then describe that. And so I got the city, the town, the state, there was a road, it was a lumber area, lots of lumber. And yeah, so that was I think my best one.
Oh, that's outstanding, Donna, really.
Yeah,
And
that one was, holy moly.
yeah, yeah,
Got him.
that's
And
intense.
you have to learn how to, you have in missing persons, for practice, you'll give us a picture and we have to learn how to tell if they're alive or dead, because picture is not the picture of them dead run over on the street. There
Right.
could be the family doesn't know where they are, and this is the only picture they have. He was 12, but he's now 50.
Ah, of course.
And you
Yes.
and you have to. She teaches you how to figure out from a picture if the person's dead or alive. So we do a lot of that. So you get used to that feeling, um, sentient, that knowing, that feeling.
So you look at a picture, Donna. Let me understand this.
Okay.
You're given a picture, and the first thing you need to be able to do is to figure out if they're here or not.
Well, this is like the advanced class. So we've already gone
Okay.
through a lot of the, well, basic and intermediate, and then you go to the in the advanced class, you get those kinds of things. So you already have skills on, what to look for, how to feel, what are you sensing, and the only job we have is, are they dead or alive? Sometimes the only job is the color of the car. Sometimes the only thing is license plates. Now, license plates are numbers in letters. So those are a little bit harder. I didn't do well with that
Okay.
with license plates, but um, I can get a car pretty well.
You
But so you don't know, you're given a task by the police, and the police give the task to Pam because she's FBI. She's been used all over the place,
right.
and so she'll be given a job, a task, and she'll bring it to the advanced group and say what the task is.
Okay.
And and it could be, you know, we just want to know X, whatever the police want to know. And we just don't want to know a lot of information. Just give us the task. What's the task? And that's psychic detective, which is different than controlled remote viewing, associative remote viewing. They're all different kind of genres, but you use it anywhere from Joe McMoneagle is so talented. He can go into the future and see medical instruments that are being developed and then come back, and then somebody from a instrument company would pay him whatever to show them the instrument that he saw.
Ah, so I'm glad that you made the differentiation between people who are using remote viewing and psychics, because for me, I thought it was all rolled in to the same sort of genre, if you will. I thought it was the same thing.
Well, it's a lot of it's intuition and your subconscious and your ability to do that. And psychic is a difference between psychic and a medium. A psychic is picking up on you in front of me. Medium is what's on the other side. So if you have a psychic medium, they have to be careful that they're not picking up information from you, but they're picking that they know that there's someone on the other side, like your father's talking to you or something like
Right.
that. So there's all those types of distinctions, and psychics usually there's only a couple of places I only that I know of. There are a couple of places you can go for training. I think most psychics are the ones that I know are kind of gifted with it. Remote viewers are trained with it, and I think mediums are gifted also.
Let's roll into tarot card reading.
Okay.
Tell me about your training. I'm so interested in tarot cards and the wide variety of tarot cards, and really, how do you use them? So tell me about your first interaction with tarot cards.
So I've been I've been aware of my guides for since I was 4, and so I know the difference between their voice and my voice. And a lot of times their voice is we, and if I'm thinking something, it's I or me. So a lot of times it's third person. It was like, we would like you to learn tarot cards. I'm like, seriously? Aren't I learning enough? I mean, well, we think it will help you build your intuition. I went,
Ah,
oh, okay. So I went and looked up who's the best tarot reader on the planet. It's a man by the name of Richard Knight out of the UK, and he was offering the class. And I thought, there's a part of me that, when I get this stuff, there's a part of me that goes, really, you want me to say that to Natasha? Because I really don't want to say, I don't want to do that. And they're like, okay, you have free will.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next night I'm sleeping and the tarot card will show up. And I go, okay, I get it. Um, so I was kind of out of that. I didn't really want to necessarily learn tarot,
Ah,
but I thought it'd be interesting. So I took his class. And so he did a whole thing on the history of tarot, how it was come out of the tradition in Europe, almost like a Mardi Gras that we have here in New Orleans, and it be a picture, someone would draw a picture of a jester, a picture of a king or whoever would be at the festival. So its history kind of comes out of that, and they made cards out of it. And it's really like the playing cards that we use come from tarot. And people will say, it's from the devil. And I said, well, last I checked, God gave, people intelligence and intuition. And so if you want to believe it's from the devil, you go ahead. But I think it's fascinating. And I think it's part of our subconscious. And I'm going to explore this and see what happens. So there's a deck called the original examples of Renaissance art.
Ah.
And so those would be the playing cards. And this is one of the original tarot decks. And then the most famous tarot decks is what they call the Rider-Waite tarot decks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so in those tarot decks, what Richard teaches us is a very nice system. And it made sense to my brain that there's cards that they're called the minor arcana and the major arcana, and they have specific meanings. And so they also have numbers. It's a number, I don't know if you can see it, number 2. And then the minor arcana would be, they're called wands and swords. And so you're learning this process. So, what do those cards mean? And he makes it simple. And he gives us the idea of what 2 would stand for. So I keep a little sheet on my phone, and it'll say what the minor arcana. 2 would stand for this. 3 would, if you pick a 3, it would stand for this. A 4 would stand for this. 5 would stand for this. And then if it's a sword, swords usually mean intuition, and wands usually mean physical. So he gives us these general categories. In the major arcana, it's called a fool's journey because the first card is a fool going on a journey, and the last one is the world. And so there's meanings for that. Each card has a meaning. So there's people that buy these tarot decks and have books that tell you how to interpret the card, and he doesn't.
Okay.
Which I love. He says, this is if a 2 shows up, it means this. A 3 shows up, it means this. A 4 shows up, and if it's a sword, it means this. If it's the fool's journey, if it's the fool, it means this. If it's the sun, it means this. And I really like that idea where it's just, you have a basic idea of the cards, and then your intuition will then go into the reading. And so usually someone goes for a reading and they sit down and you say, what's your question of the tarot? And there's general categories people want to know. They want to know about relationships or jobs or money or something of that nature.
Right.
And so we're taught how to lay out the cards. So there's something called a Celtic cross. There's other kinds of layouts that you can do. You can do a 1-card reading. You can do a 2-card reading. You can pick a card of the day for yourself. But usually when you're doing reading for someone else, I do a Celtic cross in it. It's how you lay out the cards. So when you put the first card down, this would be related to the past. This card would be related to now. This card would be related to the future. And then you put the cards together down before you. And then you have intuition about the person in front of you. And you say, this is what these particular cards are saying. Does that make sense to you? Or if one of them doesn't make sense, or you feel like, I think I need more information, you can then put down, say I have a 4-card spread, and this card over here was the hot topic for you. The card was like, it's close, but not quite. I can keep putting cards down to see what that line might mean.
Oh, interesting. See,
So
this
again, it's, yeah.
This is great, a great explanation because I've been I've observed instances where people put down cards and there are two different perceptions or interpretations of the cards, which was always so confusing to me. It's like, shouldn't the cards say what it's supposed to say? So,
Well, that's why I don't, the books are, that's someone else's interpretation.
right, right.
But I have someone sitting in front of me, there you are, and there I am.
Mhm.
And it's like chiropractic, there you are, there's your patient, acupuncture, there you are, they're the patient. You're gonna pay attention to the energy, your energy and their energy, and you're gonna make intuitive. Yeah, I think even though your shoulders hurt, let me check out that hip. So that intuitive kind of
Mm.
information comes through in the way that I was taught the tarot.
Ah, I see. Okay. So
So it
that
makes,
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
that's why like he's the most sought after tarot reader on the planet, Richard Knight.
Mhm.
Because his is like he's been doing it since he was a kid. His family thought it would be cute when he was like 4 or 5 years old to give him a tarot and put down the cards, and he did a reading and it was like spot on and they about all fainted. And then when he was a teenager, he would go to the pubs in England and sit down and go, "Do you mind if I sit in the corner and do readings?" And he just kept doing these readings and people would be start coming and coming until
Oh,
it's
it's
just, until he figured out the system and he goes, "No, you don't make it." He got the books, he got, the different decks. And so it's really good to start with the Rider Waite deck. That's
mm,
what I use. And a lot of times I don't do tarot for people. Um, Again, it's I'm getting information all over the place.
yeah,
Like sometimes I don't need the needle.
sure,
Sometimes
sure.
sometimes you don't need the needle. Sometimes you don't need the card. Sometimes you're given that information.
Got it. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Let's circle back. I want to touch base and explain to me what is meant by evidential mediumship. What is that, Donna?
Well, it's taught by the Arthur Findlay College out of England. Most people would call that Hogwarts. There's a place in England that you go, kind of looks like a castle, and you learn this stuff. But a medium is now remember, you're coming to me and you're going, I miss my dad. Can you get him through? Can you give him some information? That's the mediumship, is that I'm going to contact someone from the other side who has a message for you. Now, if you go to someone and says, "Oh, I feel your mother here," and then they say, "Is your mother has expired?" So I've seen
Yeah,
them start to pull information like,
yes.
"And she misses you and she loves you." And there's no evidence there.
Right.
Like, didn't your mother love you or your grandmother love you? So evidential mediumship is the person on the other side has to give you, and you can ask them, has to give you something that person doesn't couldn't that you couldn't have found out online, on the
Ah,
internet, asking their friends. And so you come in and it's okay to be an open skeptic. The person is saying, um, so you again, it's a process of learning and learning how these entities talk to you. And so I have somebody up here, it's on the right. So I've done this enough that usually will represent a man and a woman
mhm.
over here and a grandfather here. And you start learning in evidential mediumship, which is different than remote viewing, which is different than tarot. It's
Right.
a whole
Yeah.
new ball game. You're now there's a way to open your heart to protect yourself. Always protect yourself first from, people say it's Satan. Okay, well, I've got enough warriors on the other side that would just wipe him out. I've got God, I've got Michael, I've got warriors. And so I call on them to protect me during this process.
Mm.
My friend Father Nathan Castle wrote Afterlife Interrupted, and he protects himself with all kinds of saints and angels, and he has people come through. Um, that's remarkable. His is just crazy,
Yeah.
and so you're there, and you have to give evidence of very specific things. Like, and this happened one time, and I really didn't want this to happen,
Mm.
and I could tell. Geez, someone has singing bowls, and that frequency
Ah, yeah.
tends to be a green light to the other side. Like your heart chakra is like green light, and I have this very famous woman at this conference, and I'm standing there, and they're playing in the background. They're playing singing bowls, and in comes a young man. I'm like you got to tell her. I'm going, telling her, we have a message. You need to find someone else because I'm not doing this. So she's kind of looking at me, and she goes, "You okay?" I go, "Yeah, yeah, I'm getting a message from someone." "Oh, okay, I'm open to that." Okay. Um, it's a young man, and he's showing me a wooden piece of it's a pendant, and
Mhm.
she's really quiet, and it's on a string, it's on a black string, it's made out of wood, and it looks handmade, and it's in the shape of, I can't remember if it was a shape of a cross or a Celtic cross. I get that part, I can't remember. And I'm saying all this woman just starts bawling.
Mm.
And I like, is there a message? So I give the message, and she looks at me and she goes, "No one knows this." I said, "Okay." My son drowned,
Mm.
and he drowned like last year or something like that. But and when he was however old, he made this pendant, a wooden pendant that he made for me, and I have it on all the time except today, and it's back in my hotel room. Otherwise, I would show it to you. But I know you couldn't make that up because I'm not wearing it, and you couldn't have seen it, and nowhere have I written anything in my books or anything about this.
Um.
And so I went, okay, well, I think I'm gonna go back to the workshop because I was freaked out. Like, don't do that. I'm not a medium. So
Wow. But kind of yes, you are, kind of
kind of I am.
yeah.
It's kind of like I'm the reluctant
Yes.
medium. I just
Yes.
don't want to do that. So, but they don't care. They will
And
ask me to do stuff. Well, Mary Lou's seen this where we'd be with people, and I get real still, and it's almost like, and I'll just, ah, and I'll
wow.
come back, and I'll look at the person, and they're like either staring at me or crying or got their jaw dropped. And Mary Lou goes, okay, I think we need to go now. And so
Wow.
we would leave, and I go, what was that? And she goes, you nailed it. So she began to be able to see when I was able to do that. So
Wow. So I have a question, Donna. With all of these talents that you have, training that you have, you've never thought or maybe explored the possibility of setting up a shop and maybe having people come in and make that your for-profit way way of life, because you have something, Donna, and clearly people are doing this. They're, making money off of, helping people with their specific talent. Why have you never considered this, or have you considered this?
never, never, no money, nothing. Never, never, never. I haven't done it. The closest thing would be acupuncture. You got to pay me for acupuncture.
Definitely.
But I'm now down to one person. I only work really on one person and or their family.
Yeah.
And so I had to leave Arizona and
Mhm.
moved to another state. I didn't have to, but this person had life-threatening degenerative disease, and it's a good friend of mine's brother, and so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
limited my ability to do this. That's why I do the podcast.
Hmm.
But I don't ask you to pay for the podcast. I don't ask you to. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't. And if my angels came to me tomorrow and said, "We want you to set up shop in Nebraska and pay money," I have an intelligence and I have a free will, and if it's something that doesn't make sense, because that would mean I would leave my patient. It'd
Hmm.
be known, and no matter what you say, because I don't believe that that's from the good side of the universe. I feel like that's not doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Doing it.
Okay.
So there's
Very.
always that learning and protecting yourself and using your intelligence, and then we have free will, and so it's like I've been given a good life. I've been given um, things that I can do, and I said yes to this. And this means that I couldn't go to the Olympics. That was my dream, and work on my friends in the Olympics. I
Yeah.
wanted to be there and share that. And it's like those kinds of things don't matter to me. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not homeless. I'm not, you know, destitute. I'm
Yeah.
given gifts, and it's what people say about a life of service to other. I'm driven from deep inside to be of service to others,
Mm.
not to the trolls or the donut holes, not the, but
Yeah.
to the people that want to learn and want to help and want to evolve.
Right. Right. So, with that being said, Donna, if a innocent, newly explored person came to you and said, things are happening and I don't know where to go. I don't know what books to read. I don't know what the very first start in this journey is, but I feel that there's something more than me out there. But I don't know what the next step is to take to explore this. What direction do you give somebody?
My podcast, it's why I started the podcast. It was meant for people that didn't know where to start. And so I would interview people that had books and websites and podcasts. And so if you go to this podcast, there's 120 of them, and you can start at the beginning and you can step by step go through things and what resonates with you. Also, my guides recently asked me to do this. I'd been on podcast talking about my near death experience. And I said, I got the choice to, what do you want to do here? God said to me, what do you want to do here? And I said, well, is what you're asking is whether I want to live or whether, I'm doing active listening with the creator of the universe, with God. Is that what you're asking me, if I want to live or die? And he's chuckling. And I say it was this big aurora borealis energy. And it was like, yeah. And I said, okay, well, I give it to you. And then I had profoundly realized what choice meant, that I basically didn't answer him, I want to live or I want to die. I gave the choice to him. And then I learned about choice and surrender. So when I
Mm.
do this on podcasts, people would ask me, well, what does choice mean? And I give this really terrible description because it was so deep, and it was deep, and there was a length and a breadth to it that I ended up sounding like, well, choice means, how you think every day. And it wasn't very long. It was like a sound bite. So I was coming out of a dream. I was waking up. It's like, absolutely, I knew who this was. And they were like, Donna, one of the reasons you have a podcast, that we asked you to do a podcast, was you're to explain choice on your podcast. And I went, oh. So I'm doing So we talk back and forth, and I'm doing a project called the Choices Project, and it'll be on YouTube because I need to show a PowerPoint presentation type of material. And so I put the first one up called the Choices Project and describe what I'm about to do. And I'm in the end of doing the Choices Project for beginners. And on there, we talk about belief systems and thinking, and I have websites and I have books and I have workshops for the beginner. And I tell you, here's where you can start, what resonates with you, because you have to do some of the work. You just, you go to the angels and you go, I really need this answer. I really need this. And a lot of times there'll be nothing, like just blank. And you can feel that. You can feel that nothing. Or you can hear him. Sometimes I hear him laughing, like, seriously, like, seriously, you got to figure that one out. So in this world, it's a working planet, meaning that we're here to work. So if someone comes to me, it's kind of like my students. You could tell when students came and they generally were having a hard time and they didn't know where to start, and they generally want to learn, and they you can I will go out of my way to help them. And then there's students that come to you. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories of one of my students. They had a term paper due. I was very strict on, I gave them enough time where they can write a paper, and I gave them enough resources, and you got to go do the work. And it's due when you walk into class on such and such a day at 9 o'clock. It's due at 9:05. As soon as I see you walk into class, you walk up and you put the paper on my desk. So it's about 10 after 9, kid's late, comes flying up to my desk. Miss Rebadow, you will not believe what happened. And as soon as you say that, I'm thinking, you're right. I'm not going to believe what happened. So they say I was late. So I'm driving down, and it tells me the street, and I have my brother's car and the sunroof's open, and I have the papers. I didn't staple them yet. Don't have a staple at my house. So I was waiting to come in, and all the papers go flying out the sunroof. And I knew I had to make a decision to gather up the papers or be late for class. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's like, oh, I go, what kind of car is it?
I love it. I love
I
it.
didn't say, let's go gather the papers or you got an extra day. I just said, what kind of car is it? And he looked at me and he goes, why? Because I'm going to go rent one tomorrow. I'm going to put it, how many pages? 20? I'm going to put 20 sheets of paper in the passenger side. I'm going to go down that street at the mileage that you said you were going. I'm going to see if they blow out the sunroof. And he looks at me, he goes, I'm lying. I go, I know you are. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to get a 0 on the paper, and, we'll move on from there, and we'll see if we can do some other things for you. So you help those that generally don't know where to start, and those that are just going to BS you or mean. There are mean people out there. There are mean people that say mean things, and those people I'm like, come when you grow up and evolve, and
Right.
So I have those things for them. I have this podcast, and then I'll have the Choices Project, and that should give you enough stuff to get started. And then you start taking over with what does this feel right for you? Like if I say the tarot cards and you go, oh no, that's, I said, then okay, don't do those, right. Say you can start here, or consider this book. Or if I have people that say, I don't want to read, if they don't want to do the work we call the shadow work. The shadow work is the things inside you that are tough, like whatever life has dealt you, and it's tough, and you get stuck on it, and you have triggers, and you can't seem to go beyond it. That tough stuff will help you with. But the shadow work means you've got to do some gardening there. I'm not going to come over with a shovel and a rake and start doing your work.
Right.
Like, you tools, but it's in some of the work can be painful. I've done my own shadow work. So it's painful work that, on a working planet, we're meant to evolve and learn lessons and to do stuff.
So are you then available, Donna, for like one-on-one sessions?
I'm not. The reason for that is I have people from literally around the world that email me, and I'll answer them by saying, I can put you on my healing list,
Mm.
but you have to tell me once a month what's happening with that. And I would say it's kind of like, if you want to go biblical, out of 10 people Jesus cured, one comes back. It's
Yeah.
like, they want me to do the work for them, but there's some that come back and they tell me month after month what's happening. And those people I'll take to the Crystal Palace. And mostly I do that in my meditations in the evening, is that I have, I think, over 230 meditations on my iPhone that range from HemiSync to iAwake technology to sacred acoustics, guided meditations by HemiSync. I have all kinds of meditations that can help me go into drop down into an altered state. And then I'll take people up to the Crystal Palace, and I'm not doing the healing. I know who's doing the healing, but also keep in mind I've also died, so I can go over there and I can see people and do things and call on healers and
Um,
spirits. So an angel's an angel, specifically made to be an angel. A human, when you die, my dad died. If he talks to me, I'm going to call him a spirit.
mhm.
And but he doesn't become an angel, no matter what you guys. If that's what you want to think, you go right on. And then a
Right.
being would be someone from another dimension or interdimensional beings. And so I will call on angels, guides, spirits, being God, to
Um,
help with this person. I had a friend of mine call up and said, Donna, a mutual friend of ours is in a hospital in third world country and they're dying. And I said his name. I'm going to say his name is Peter, but that's not his real name. I said, Peter, I have to go. I have to hang up. And I hung up on him.
mm,
And I immediately called a group of healer friends of mine that are here on the planet. There's a specific group. And I give a picture and I tell them what to do. And we immediately dropped into healing. And this kid came out of a coma and ended up leaving the hospital alive and well. And
wow.
so my friend Peter calls me. All he says is, and then you hung up on me. I had work to do. He gave me a job. They want to just sit there and talk about, just, hang up and let me go to work. So
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, all of that brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we, Donna, you and I, when we get together, we can do this for hours, hours. And I'm happy that we've come to what I think is a nice resting spot for us, kind of giving people direction on the podcast and where to begin. And then you're beginning this new wonderful venture.
a
So
YouTube, a YouTube channel, Exploring Consciousness.
the YouTube, absolutely, absolutely. So is there anything else, Donna, you would like to leave off with here?
Yeah, if you really want to pay me, if you really feel like you do, I would say please buy my book, Sadie's Wednesdays with Sadie, the Miracle Dog. If you can do anything, you can buy that book. It's paperback, ebook, Kindle Unlimited, and then leave a review. That would be great. I had that hadn't been going the way I was hoping it would go, that people could meet and understand this wonderful, amazing, medically intuitive dog.
Mhm.
Um, but I get all kinds of things like, why don't you write about your near death experience? Why don't you do this? So I said, I'm guided by, I have free will, but I'm guided by my guides. So I'm doing a bunch of projects right now. When I'm done with that, I'm actually going to write my autobiography,
Mm.
but it's so big that I'm going to do it like James Patterson. He wrote a series of what they call short stories, or he just called them shots. book shots.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to take little snippets
Yes.
of what it was like to work in Switzerland, what it was like to play basketball at Wayland,
Mm.
what it was like to become a pilot, what was it like to land an airplane. I'll
Right.
do those kinds of things.
Wonderful. 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 All right. Donna, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natasha. Well done. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. We publish our Exploring Consciousness podcast on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the second week of every month. Please check the podcast schedule and more on our companion website, exploreconsciousness.com. Thank you again for listening.